Facing you right now. I've been doing my cat and my cow, and then there's side sways. So I'm pushing the hands, so I'm stretching towards my left side, I'm pushing my left hand forward, and my right hand is pulling back. And it's going to create this spinal flexion, this lateral flexion in my spine. There. And so we just did cat-cow. What plane of motion is cat-cow in? Very good, sagittal plane. So now we've got these side sways that we're doing. All right, hold it for 5 seconds. Reach long, not high. Reach long. Good, that's a 5-second hold. Switch it over to the other side. Reach long, don't reach up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walk it up. See how I'm in a straight line. So my knees, I shouldn't be rocked back like this. My knees should be on top of knees, basically. And then we're just going to lift up and lift up as high as you can. So lift up. Try to get away. Push the arm away. And try to make sure you're staying square with your body. So you're going to be a lot of rotations, one way or the other. Try to stay square with the body. And now lower back down. We do the same thing. Lift up as high as you can now. Push away. Push away. So you're lifting, rounding the spine laterally. So get up higher, get up higher. We're not doing a neutral plane. We're doing an end range of motion side plank. Lower back down. One more time. Focus on your abduction now. So focus on how far you're getting your hip away. Lift up. Lift up. Push that away. Nice. Yes. Good, good, good. Up high, up high, up high. Yes. Getting up. Nice. Lower back down. Now your top leg is going to be planted on the ground. Your bottom leg, your knees are going to stay connected. So watch how I'm going to get into this position though. I'm going to bend this knee a little bit, because if I keep it straight, all of that pressure is going to go right on the inside of my knee, or my MCL, my medial collateral ligament. I don't want to put that on. I want my foot to almost be flat so my knee will be bent. And then when I lift up, I'm pushing away like that. Now I can hold that in a better position. And if I keep my knees together, my bottom leg adductor is going to be working too. Right? So here, bend the knee, almost flatten the foot there on the ground, and lift up and straighten, and keep your knees together. That's pretty good, except I've seen people with their knees not touching. Lift your bottom knee up until it touches your top knee. But I don't like it. You like my client. And relax. Let's do it again. One more time. Same leg, same arm, same shoulder, and no, you're getting tired. Lift up. Lift up. Knees together. Keep the knees together. Oh, tricky, tricky, tricky. And back down. All right. So here's something I'm seeing. It's pretty common, and there's a reason why. Because it's easier to do this. But when you do your lift up, and this leg is here, your arm is here, some people will do this, and it's almost like their foot is sticking out over their leg, but it's easier to adduct because you're using your adductor magnets, posterior fibers, which are the ones that, have you ever done squats and you get sore right there? It's your adductor magnets that's getting sore. So it's a stronger muscle that tends to work. So when people do this, they're trying to get more adductor magnets. I'm trying to keep knee touching knee like this in a neutral position. It's harder. And when my clients say, but Rick,
hi, Mama, hey.
And relax. I love that one. So that one is actually creating a perturbation or a disturbance in your ability to stabilize. And through that disturbance that you have, your muscles kind of contract, like you're doing clamshells. which I usually don't do on my shoulder, but clearly there's a reason. See how my hips are flexed? My hips are flexed. This is important because I need to do extension when I come up in my clamshell. I'm going to extend forward and clamshell, and then sit back and bring them together. Extend forward and clamshell, and sit back. Yeah, good. Extend it forward, sit it back. Nice. Some people are, and it's not wrong, it's just not what we're doing. Some people are lifting up their bottom knee. Keep your bottom knee down. Your bottom knee should be what is anchoring you to the floor. So all my weight is on that knee. And then sit back down. And of course, if you want to increase this challenge, you could add some mini loops or something like that around the knees whilst doing it. I will say it will put a damper on your positioning because the idea behind this is you're going to go from one to the other, to the other, to the other in a cluster, and then you can move into the last one here. So your bottom leg goes straight, and your top leg, here's the tendency. Here's what I would like for you to do. I'm facing forward, my body's facing forward. I'm almost at my absolute end of abduction external rotation. From this position, it is my bottom leg that's going to be doing all the work here. Certainly your core and your shoulders, but my bottom leg is going to be lifting me up, and you're going to clench your glutes together when you get up to the top. And then lower back down. Keep the knee abducted and lift up. And back down. Lift it up. Hip drive. Should be able to pick up even your bottom leg. And back down. One more time, you're going to pick up your bottom leg on this one. Lift up. And bottom leg up. Alright. All you're going to do is this. That's it. Now, what we're not doing is lifting this hand and shifting. But also, we're not doing this. And lifting them quick. Lift them very slowly. It should be a very low level activation. The problem is for your deep core stabilizers that they're stabilizers. So if you make an exercise hard, then your big muscles like your external obliques and your abs are going to jump in and try to help out. So you can't be a difficult exercise, but you won't get the muscles that you want to do the work to do the work. So it needs to be a relatively simple exercise, but you should feel this. So everybody in a quadruped position, breath that goes on. So first one, you're just breathing in. Deep breath, not just belly breathing. You breathe through your lungs. The movement comes from your abdominal and your chest, so it's a full breath from everywhere. Easy breath, and then you're going to do this. Here's the expiration challenge here. So you're going to do a big breath in, and then you're going to purse your lips together like you're blowing through a straw. And you're going to blow out every bit of air that you can get out of your body. Right? This is what it looks like.
Alright, mama, hey.
And relax. I love that one. So that one is actually creating a perturbation or a disturbance in your ability to stabilize. And through that disturbance that you have, your muscles kind of contract. Hey, so my friends here in Thailand, I know I live in New York City, but they wanted to do a shout out for all my friends and family down south in Alabama. So they want to say this. That was amazing! That was amazing! I love y'all! A functional anatomy course prior to doing this, but we will be doing a functional anatomy course this afternoon. We'll talk about this more. But the hamstring muscles, medial hamstring, semimembranosus, semitendinosus, we all know that hamstrings do knee flexion. But they also do hip extension, which we're aware of. But what we don't think about sometimes is the other components that are provided. The medial hamstrings also do very slight internal rotation at the hip, but they also do internal rotation of the tibia. This is external rotation, biceps femoris. This is internal rotation, and that's going to be your medial hamstring muscles that will be participating in that. So I'm going to put Jeremy in that position. So as I put him in this position, and let's just go through everything. So I'm starting right now, he's at 90 degrees at the hip. I'm going to have him slightly internally rotate at his hip. Slight. I'm going to have him slightly internally rotate at his tibia. Okay? I'm going to put my hand under here, and then we're going to go through this. We're going to add pressure gently towards extension, like this. And I'm going to pull, ooh la la, right? And relax. Now, there is a certain amount of pressure that's going to be hard to explain of how much tension I have to put up as a personal trainer. How much tension am I pulling? Because I bet I could win this battle if I was like, you know what, I can deadlift this, right? I can win. So it's not about that. It's about being familiar enough with how many bodies you've done this to know whether or not that is a pass. So what happens sometimes is you start to get into this position and see how I'm bracing here? You might see a compensation. As I start to pull, I might either pull him into extension, or as I pull, he'll start to externally rotate a little bit. So he's externally rotating to try to be like, hey, biceps femoris, can you slide in there, buddy? Can you jump in and help out, please? So that would be a compensation, right? Or if I start to do this, and he starts to externally rotate his tibia. So again, he's requesting biceps femoris to jump in and participate. So I would put that as a number 2, that he can hold the position, but he's doing it with compensation. Right? Number 1, right, if I do this, and I pull, and he's got a 1, so he's totally weak, then he just can't hold that position. He just can't hold that. And then a 3 would be if he holds it, and I give him a nice pull. Look at that, little bicep popping out right there. He's doing an excellent job. I'm gonna say that's strong enough for what we're doing. Fantastic. And I'll have him put it down, we'll switch over and do the same thing on the other side. And you think that you are okay with just that quick overview to practice this. Oh, wait, real quick. And then if I do this, I get him in this position, I practice it, and I've got him at about 50 to 70 degrees. So this is 180, well, not quite, but, and then 90 degrees, and then 50 to 70, so he's low. But maybe his quads are tight. So if he presents as weak, what I might do is just pull him into 90-90. Still internally rotate at the hip, still internally rotating at the tibia, and try again. So I may be taking some of the tightness of the quads out of the equation to see if we can measure it. And if that's the case, he presents as strong, then I go, ooh, maybe we should foam roll and stretch his quads in order for his hamstrings to present stronger. Okay? So, for you, now that you have a partner, I want you to connect with that partner, and I want you to practice. Actually, not yet. Let's do biceps femoris. We do it back to back because it's easy just to go from one right to the other. So he's going to slightly externally rotate, and then we'll position here. He's stronger there. He's stronger there. Look at that. Didn't break a sweat. So, and I think the majority of people will present as stronger on the biceps femoris, but if they don't be like, whoa, wait, something's wrong. Do you have a bicep? It's just, the answer is the answer. So if he's stronger here than he is here, that makes sense. But if he's stronger here than here, don't get confused. You may want to test it one more time to make sure you know what you're doing. But again, biceps femoris, externally rotating the hip, externally rotating the tibia, and then you're pulling up. And then sometimes I'll do even like a slight internal rotation, so he's resisting that. But don't worry on that. The most important thing is focusing on the extension, and then internal rotate the hip, internally rotate the tibia, hand underneath, same thing with the lift. And then real quick, if through whatever laws that are there that say, hey trainers, maybe we don't put our hands on our clients and do that. It's crazy because this is the exact same thing, but you're gonna be doing it without your hands actually touching somebody. So go ahead and lift your leg up, Chair. I'm gonna go just through here, and I'm gonna grab both of these. I'll still put them in the same position, internally rotate, and don't let me pull you. So you can do the exact same thing with a tool, and for some reason, in some places, one is legal and the other is not, and yet it is the exact same thing. So, if you want to practice with somebody, he's gonna now move his toes towards each other, like that. So hold that position, and now, in this position, so see how he's adducted at the hip, he's adducted at the tibia, and he's gonna go lift up into that bridge, Robin. Tell me where you feel that. I can tell by your face that you feel it, and lower back down. Where do you feel that? Yeah, medial hamstring complex. So the medial hamstring complex, again, hamstrings are right there. That's the medial hamstring complex. So when you go into this long lever, which I call long lever diamond bridge, so you're bringing your toes together like that, and when you lift up, you're gonna feel that activation. So this is an excellent way to increase facilitation of these underactive muscles. So as a group, here we go, group exercise style. Everybody lie back on your back. Light external rotation, so this would be the position. Okay. So that might produce this weakness. So you can provide strength there, and then what you could do is you could add the mini loop around the feet, and then have them do the exact same thing. So I that, and back down. So now he's practicing resistive hip flexion. If I've got a client that has an anterior pelvic tilt, this may not be my first go-to. He may present as weak, but he's not as weak as the muscles on the other side that are clearly losing the anterior pelvic tilt battle. So there may be more of a glute situation that would help keep our pelvis in neutral. So the glutes and the hip flexors may be weak, but if I need to prioritize one, I have to look at pelvic positioning. So if somebody has an anterior pelvic tilt, then I prioritize glute activation. If somebody has a posterior pelvic tilt, I would prioritize hip flexions. Does that make sense? Very good, very good. Let's see if we can get a couple more just in. If you have a much longer lever, it's easier to win. Another thing that you want to think about doing is as you do this, you're going to hold this leg. Because otherwise, you can hold this really tight, but then you just shift his whole body over. So you have to create some type of bracing here where you can hold on. So go ahead and hold that position, and I'm going to pull, abduct, and extend. Excellent. All right, and relax your leg. And again, if I look at that and I see that there's movement, right? So he's got some movement that's taking place, I would measure that and I'd say, all right, I'm going to give you a 2 on that one. But also, that's a little bit different than if I had done it with a short lever and did the same thing. Because now I've got another 18, 20 inches. I don't know what that is in centimeters. I'm pretty sure everybody here goes, I don't know what that is. How long's a shin in centimeters? Good. 1/3 of a meter. Another 1/3 of a meter right here that we've added a lever to that makes you as the practitioner stronger. So you don't have to put as much strength into it to win. So just be aware of this. And this is why I'm saying, like, sometimes you're just gonna have to get a flavor of, hold it. And then he can have a little bit more strength because he's creating this cross pattern activation. Relax. So that's why we talk about the core and how valuable the core is to other parts of the body. The research. So that might produce this weakness. So you can provide strength there, and then what you could do is you could add the mini loop around the feet. And then have them do the exact same thing. So I flex up and back down. So now he's practicing resistive hip flexion. If I've got a client that has an anterior pelvic tilt, this may not be my first go-to. He may present as weak, but he's not as weak as the muscles on the other side that are clearly losing the anterior pelvic tilt battle. So there may be more of a glute situation that would help keep our pelvis in neutral. So the glutes and the hip flexors may be weak, but if I need to prioritize one, I have to look at pelvic positioning. So if somebody has an anterior pelvic tilt, then I prioritize.
We can understand that, particularly in a push, we can use the arms, traditionally the arms, and we also need to talk about core stability or postural alignment. You okay with that? Then, if we break that movement pattern down, I just said this into its base components, what should be moving, so what should be mobile, what shouldn't be moving, what should be stable. And if we can take those movement patterns and break them down into those simple understandings, if we see something that's moving that should be common faults in a plank, particularly on a suspension trainer. If you're on a floor doing a plank, would your ankles be in plantar flexion or dorsiflexion? Dorsiflexion. So why then, when we go to the suspension trainer, do we fall into plantar flexion? I don't know either. So one of the first things we can change to make the simple things better is to say, pull your toes to your knees. Pull your toes to your knees. Now, can you relax your ankles? Relax your ankles. Go plantar flexion. The other way. What happens? Dip down. Do dorsiflexion. So all of a sudden, this one body check will change what happens through his whole structure. Now, can you rest? Most people, when they do a plank, pray that it's not going to hurt too much. What does this do to your shoulder girdle? Internal rotation. Where did most people walk in? Okay, so what are you reinforcing? Same. In Thailand, same. Yes? So all of a sudden, if we can get the palms, everyone do this. Press. Hello, chest. Now do this. What happened?
It's open.
Lats. That's interesting, isn't it? So if we can go dorsiflexion or pull your toes to your knees. Push your hands into the floor. Ready, set, go. Lift. Pull. Push. Pull. Push. See, he's starting to shake a little bit, isn't he? He's starting to work. So the simple things are getting harder. Now the last thing is this little area here. I want you to rest. I want you to pretend. Do you know what coal, a lump of coal? And if we squeeze a lump of coal hard enough over time, it turns into a diamond. Yes? So I want you to imagine there's a lump of coal between your bum cheeks. Yes? And you're going to squeeze that coal so hard that it turns into a beautiful diamond. As a swing thought, create a diamond. Yes? So, body check. Toes to knees. Push hands to floor. Ready, set, go. So go. Go means go. Yes, good. Now, create a beautiful diamond between those glutes. This on. Squeeze harder. You should be able, as a body check, do this. Some people play extra. Okay, rest. So simply for the plank, before we move on and do anything else, pull, push,
Squeeze.
beautiful diamond. Or however else you want to turn that. Does that make sense? So partner A is you're going to get back in the suspension trainer, and partner A was able to maintain that stand. Does that make sense, guys? Yes. So all of a sudden your regression progression theories are all can, good, cannot, back, day, good, no day, made up, good, cannot, go back. If you progress your lines too fast, dear Mr. Jones, here is your ticket to injury. By the way, that'll be adding up this floor. We can corkscrew the hands to activate lats, which are important in shoulder girdle strength. Create that diamond bit. It should look like you're trying to eat your shorts. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for saying very nice. I appreciate that. Set. Now your push-up goes. Oh, hello, we slipped. One foot slip, one foot dip. That's interesting. Push. Push. Maintain the plank. In. What's this movement pattern? Frontal plank. No, it's not frontal plank. It's definitely not through the crease of your elbow forward. What happened here? More control. There's something happened, which is usually a win. So keep all of this, set all of this. On. Okay, set your plank. Before we do anything else, set. I love this term, reset. 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 Now, keep all of this. Lower down into a push-up. You cannot control that speed. So boom, boom, keep, lower down. Lower down. Keep, where is it? 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 Yeah. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep corkscrewing. Where is it?
Yeah, it's right there.
He's shaking. Have a look at that. Right, now reset. No, I didn't say up, I said reset. On. Look at him shake. We haven't done one rep yet. Okay, now maintain all of that and push up. You won't be able to go fast if you're really focusing on maintaining it. Yeah. Push. You lost it. Rest. So we're not even ready for the atomic phase of the push-up yet. So what we might do is go off the knees. So just come up, but keep your knees on the ground. Still dorsiflex, still separate. On, corkscrew, nice long tall line out of the top of the head. On, all right, corkscrew, set, control, down, lower, keep it, reset, push. Okay, now knees up, set your plank. Good, okay. And hip drives up. Pull the knees in, stop. Yes, did you see that? Now push into my hands, push, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, control back. Hold, control back. On, keep going, you've got to go all the way back. And rest. But he's even glistening and sweating.
And I'm not going to show that, but a little quiz of what we're going to review in an hour and 15 minutes from now. What's the best decibel level to play for people over 50 in a class if they can hear? If they can't hear, there's nothing you can do, or they need to bicep the biceps. And what are the beats per minute to match for strength and cardio when you're not familiar with everybody's different fitness level? Number 2, how should instructors dress? Well, clearly, all right, we're going to work on the fear of falling, and many times in the 70s and 80s in America, we used to hold people on the wall or one leg, we call it the stork or the bridge or the yoga tree. Stand on one leg and find your balance, and then they would leave and we'd say, bye-bye, thanks for coming, hope you don't fall. Because when do you go to the grocery store and actually try something like this? Never. But walking, You're on 2 legs, and then you're on 1 leg. Of the 5 movements we said we have to do, push and pull, another one is unipedal movements, or one-legged movements. Yeah. Which means when you walk, you are 80% of the time on 1 leg. Gait is essential for all populations, and gait is one of their fears as they get older. Heels to barefoot to slippers in the house, going from the bed. Where's the first thing we go for in the morning usually? To the bathroom, toilet, right? I go to the coffee, but that's another story. Going this way, and it's sagittal plane movement. If I take my fear of falling out of all this stuff that's not functional anyway, the fear of falling, and I concentrate on the muscular emphasis of glutes and hamstrings, sagittal plane, adductors, abductors in equal opposition, then I can now train strength and endurance and not worry about falling. I'm not saying that balanced standing is not crucial. I'm saying we start as humans on the floor. Let's keep our attention on the floor, take a fear of standing out of it, and move to the floor. You'll watch, and then I'll invite you to try it. These are called unilateral bridges. Before we do unilateral, we start with bilateral. We line up our feet. Benny, point your toes forward. Please, that's great. Your hands can be on the floor to start. Exhale and take your hips to the sky and lower down. Any pain or discomfort? Wonderful, that's just great. And notice, please, that her lipstick matches not only her sweater, but all the way down. Tomorrow's outfit, the lipstick changes based on the shoe. Exhale on the way up and down. To progress, let's lose contact points. Right ankle, dorsiflex. Your right toes up, and exhale and push up while your toes are up. Good, and down. I've decreased a contact point, and I've increased one of the muscles that we've talked about. The research says we want to emphasize for active aging, dorsiflexion. Let's try left toe, up and down. Good. Now that I've worked on this, maybe 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps as she's able to engage in a talk test with me, and we're talking about her life and love, and I know her life, and I've known her love. But we're going to progress this to unilateral. I'm going to take my 2 fingers between your knees, and I'm going to invite you to squeeze them, and I'm going to invite you to extend one knee. I'll let you choose which one. Wonderful. Push down with your hands, exhale, and push your hips into the sky, and lower down. And I'll have her keep trying this a couple times until I see her form fatigue, or she says, that's 12, because she's very good at counting. Or she'll say, can we stop now? What am I doing? I'm improving the quality of these muscles down this side of her body that are important for her stabilizing when she's engaged in sagittal unipedal gait. Make sense? She's not afraid of falling, but if I said stand up here now and train these muscles, it's really hard. Number one, you're not against gravity, and we know to train without equipment, the number one way is put it against gravity. Number two, she's afraid of falling or needs something to hold on to if she's here. And number three, how can I train her adductors to stabilize this way? Super important in gait training. We want to train inline in a controlled environment. As we know in this room, we're in a controlled environment. Inline is better than this way because they already get older and shuffle, yes? As we get older, these muscles don't need to be stronger. Gluteus medius is on the side, so where does it pull you? To the side, and we go like this as we get older. We don't want our clients to get stronger here. Why do we shuffle? Because we're afraid of falling. So we think if I never lift my feet, I'm never going down. Here we make her lift her feet. She's not afraid of falling, strengthening her glutes and hamstrings, especially if she's engaged in dorsiflexion. We'll talk about why in a moment, the front of her lower leg. And then we can add a little bonus. Do you want the bonus? Of course you does. You love the bonus. Here are my 2 fingers. Extend one knee. Right, and then up and down a few times. Why am I having her really squeeze into my knee, or a bender ball, or a tennis ball, or a Nerf ball? Because if she loses that, she's able to realize that she's lost the connection here of her adductors, right? And she's training her adductors. And what do we want to train? Abductors or adductors? I just said, we want to train more here, because you don't have a lot of clients that get older that walk down this way. They walk this way, right? And then you add the, what is this called? The walker. And then they get even wider because they think I'm more stable. So I can be as wide as the tennis balls on the bottom of my walker. So now if I take my fingers away, I'm going to take my fingers away, but I'm so sorry. You're going to lift and extend one knee. You can choose which one. Let's try 4-part movement. Listen up, please. Exhale, push your hips up. Keep your left knee steady. Abduct to knee. Adduct and lower everything. Wow. Exhale again up. Come come up to me, come center and down. Now we're training abductors, not this to get it stronger, it's not against gravity, but to see how stable this can be in the midst of adversity of isotonic gait movement when we're going to go back to our sagittal plane. Let's try it, because you're looking at me like, oh, I had lunch in the carbs. Yeah, you're going to come to the floor, and you don't need mats. You're fitness professionals. Thank you. All right, so notice she's in plank. Her fingers are a little bit internally rotated because it makes her shoulders feel better, and she's not out of alignment. And our purpose is to be able to hold up our own weight. If she's ever going to be afraid of falling, and she told you that's her fear, if she's going to go down, she's got to be able to hold herself up, or she's going to break her arms and shoulders going down. So she's supporting her own weight pretty much in child quadruped. How can we make this harder? Could you extend one knee, buddy? Sure, now it's 50% harder because she has less contact points and farther fulcrum from her weight-bearing shoulders. Could you make that even harder, Betty? Keep breathing. Pelvic floor engaged, navel in. And what is she doing with her tongue? I can't tell you in public. She's keeping it to the roof of her mouth. One knee down, Betty, and then your other knee down, and now she's back almost in quadruped. That's called planks, but it's not called unilateral hip flexions until we add Betty's favorite movement coming up. What does that look and feel like? Well, hip flexion is when you bring your knee closer to your midline, right? As she's showing you here. Bearing her own weight on her toes, and she's doing knee or unilateral hip flexion. You can rest for a second, Betty, although you're an Energizer bunny and you want to keep going. We're going to add a progression. As we know, to add a progression, oftentimes we'll add another plane of movement. And to make gait efficient, in addition to being unilateral, and in addition to being sagittal, forward, front to back, in addition to being in line, we can add some rotation and cross the midline of our body. So let's show them that, Betty. Unilateral hip flexions with twisting. You might call these mountain climbers, but for active agers, it's not always positive because they think they have to Google that YouTube NC500. Betty, should we count down from your age? 80, 90, 89, 88. That's not the way we do it. And you don't count out. You count down from 8 or something. How'd that feel, Betty? Yeah? Let me plug you in because although it's always nice knowing that I have the control, what happened to your box? Is it somewhere around here, Betty? I'm not sure what happened to it, but I'm not going to go searching for it. That's okay. Oh, Betty, it popped out. We love that. Betty's box. Before, but not the way Betty showed you. So you come to plank, engage by bracing your pelvic floor, your navel is in, your tongue is to the roof of your mouth, helps promote neck stability, and then you bring one knee in at a time. You can bring it into the floor, you can bring it off of the floor, sagittal plane, or you can add twisting out the other side of your body. If you rotate your fingers slightly towards each other, you get a little less stress on the glenoid, yes? Okay, great. So let's try this. Let's come to a dead bug position where your hands are to the sky. I don't know how you say cockroach in your respective languages, but if you had that kind of an animal somewhere around, you would spray it if you were into killing animals, and then this is what your dead cockroach would look like. And of course, this is on Facebook Live, so I'm not advocating killing your cockroaches, but maybe removing them to the outside. And we're gonna make sure, if I had my client give me permission that I could touch her, I put my hand under her lower back and make sure there's not only a microphone, but a slight curve, so that she's neutral, not pressing too much into me, and then when she engages what's coming up, that wouldn't move. Can you take your left heel to the floor and bring it back? Right thumb. Right heel.
Nice.
Right thumb, right heel. Now, as a trainer, I'm feeling for any lower back movements because I don't want that. This is called core stability, distal mobility. What's that called? Pilates. What's that called? Life. What's that called? Core training. Your arms and legs are moving every time you bend over or reach for something, but your core doesn't suffer a bulging, herniated, or deviated disc, right? That's what this is training. Only she's not afraid of trying this standing because she's afraid of falling. Now she's already down. Now that's the verbal way to do this. Close your eyes, please. Right heel and right thumb. Right heel, left thumb. Both heels. Both thumbs. Both heels, right thumb. And come back. So I'd be watching for like, have a rest for a second. Which cues did I give her? Did I touch her? No kinesthetic. I gave her only Verbal cues. Now make it kinesthetic because with active agers, we want to make sure that they're fully in touch with their senses in their fingers and feet. Neuropathy sets in, arthritis sets in, circulation we want to improve. So what am I going to do? I've gotten her permission, so I'm going to touch her. Betty usually loves this part. Let's come up and have who's my girl? Who's my girl? All right, here we go. She can watch and she can feel. Whatever I touch, that part connected, heel or thumb, touches the floor and comes back, maintaining this neutral dead bug. I like it when she giggles. What was that? There we go. Everything. Okay. That was great. You can rest. Do you want to try that for a moment? Go into dead bugs. It's so much harder than it is. And I'll cue you verbally because I'm not going to come around and touch each. There we are. And your left shoulder, and then your left hand goes off onto the floor. And notice how her left hand is open-handed. We see this position a lot of fist. And when people do side plank, the more you make a fist, the more pressure you put on your shoulder through your elbow joint. The more you open up the fingers of your bottom supporting hand, the more your hand and wrist and digits support you, especially with this population. Open and spread. So we're in this position as if I'm a sheet of glass behind her and there's a sheet of glass in front of her. To start with some assistance, this hand can make a fist, and you're going to push onto the floor, exhale, and push yourself up and lower down. These are side planks, or you might call them accordions, or Stuart McGill in Canada called them accordion spinal extensions. This is wonderful, but we're going to show you what we call the hip lifts with rotation, because as I said, the third progression is to add triplanar, or you got a little sagittal, you got a little frontal, and you're going to add some rotation. Let's take this hand along your body for weight. Let's exhale up into frontal plane, arm into the sky, abducts, thread the needle under. How many fingers am I holding up?
4.
Good. What was 2? Lift up and lower back down. Let's try one more time. Lift up, exhale down and under. How many fingers?
2.
Lift up and lower down. So she's threading the needle. She's lifting up, going into transverse plane, lifting up and down. Do we need her to be able to do it on her ankles? Nah. There's no functional purpose for her to put that much stress on her upper body, but I do want to make sure that her core engages and do this. Do you not promise to do these every single day?
Yes.
And she never balances them immediately. We won't go to her right shoulder and immediately to her left. We'll go to her dead bug, or she'll go prone and do something in a prone position. Try these. Pick a shoulder, any shoulder. You have 2. And make sure you're lying.
That's what makes the difference about the age being improved. So the psychological age, we try to incorporate neuroplasticity so it becomes neurogenesis into our classes, even for a couple of minutes. And actually, the clients get used to it, and it's kind of fun because they never did anything like that.
But now the younger people, as we talked about in 30, 50, 90, the young millennials come, they want a hard workout. I don't want to have to think. I want to go nowhere in a dark room fast. It's called cycle. They don't want to play brain games. They don't want to do balance training, and they don't want to do all those things. But after 50, 60, we realize how important that is. I think sneak it in with the young kids from today and train psychological age as well. Have you ever heard of doing squats with your clients? Yes. 8 squats to one side with all populations. And yes, especially for active aging, the first plane of movement to start in is sagittal. How do they walk into your room in the morning? Sagittal plane. How do they get out of bed and go to the bathroom? Sagittal plane. How do they get ready for class and walk to their car or to your studio? Sagittal plane. No one wakes up and says, greet the day. I gotta go pee. No one starts movement twisting. I'm gonna go make coffee. But we have them walk in and go, let's touch. Why start in frontal plane if our ankle's not sufficiently warm up and we want them to move efficiently the way they live? She lives in sagittal plane, then frontal, and then transverse. So show us the sagittal plane movement that you'll join her. Let's try this.
You come into a lunge. Would you like to do it with me?
Yes.
Okay. You come into a lunge, and then we're going to lift our toe in the front and our heel in the back. We take our arms and we go under the fence. So we lift and go under the fence.
Can we do a progression?
The progression would be we lift the front foot
You're moving
Yes.
in the frontal plane facing
And
the
now,
sagittal.
we're going to progress even further. We're going to lift the back leg and go toward the wall. And front and back. Front and back.
Are we going to do the other leg, yes or yes? Yes, but not immediately. So we'll come back and do something marching before we do our other side. Remember, research does not say immediate balancing is best. Something on one side, something else, even going from cardio to strength to flexibility. If that's sagittal plane, Betty, give us an example for quadratus lumborum of merengue marches from Zumba and fuse craze and all these dances that influence or draw from Latin dancing.
So hold your arms up parallel to your shoulders and level one. Step in and step out. And now step in, step out. Step in.
Look at your hips.
Step out. Now we're going to
Face
bring
forward.
our hips, our elbows to our hip, in, out, in, out. Lift your hip up to your rib cage and your elbows to your hips.
Y'all, that's not bad for 90. 90, that's not so bad.
And now go toward the door.
Right, then add some movement in the sagittal plane.
In
the
and
front
out.
plane.
In and out. And now the other way. In and out. And
You're
now
bringing your ribs
reverse.
close to your hips. It's just like merengue. And now when you add your upper body, you're getting some more upper cervical spinal movement as well. Purpose is to move side to side. Are you achieving that purpose? Most of you were. You didn't have mirrors. Betty, example of transverse plane from
Transverse.
Tai Chi. Wise owl gazes backwards.
We take this from Tai Chi. We put our feet hip width apart and toes pointing forward. Raise your arms shoulder height. Look at your fingernails. You're going to take a look at the door fingernail. Bring it around. Step a little bit wider. Bring it around. Raise the heel of the opposite foot and then come forward. You follow the thumbnail the other side.
So you're all
With
twisting.
your eyes. And as you're doing this, you try to go a little bit further back. So you increase the range of motion as well as working the vestibular system, your eyes, and you're working in the transverse plane. Wise owl turns.
Thank you. So you can choose what you want to do with your active aging for sagittal, and then some frontal movement, rhythmic limbering, and then some transverse plane. But the research and standards guidelines are that order, that sequence. We don't start twisting our clients or start side bending when we haven't even warmed up their ankles in the way they've walked into our classes or clubs or clinics. Sagittal plane, right? Ankles and toes. And we will do heel raises, but more toe raises because we want to emphasize anterior tibialis, inner thigh over outer thigh with active aging, and quadratus lumborum just as much as ab and spinal straightening because our quadratus lumborum stabilizes us. Make sense? Can I ask you to fill in this area here? Pushing them forward. This is scary for some people. It's anterior tibialis, but there are ways to progress this. Do you want to teach this part?
Okay. So now that we're getting our ankles a little warmed up, remember the ankles are the hardest joint to warm up. So next move is bring your feet close to each other with a little space, maybe hip width apart, and we're going to sway. So we sway forward in the sagittal plane, and we sway back.
And they'll say how far. You want to go as far forward as you can go, keeping your heels stable on the floor. So you go as far as you feel comfortable, but challenged, and your heels stay down. Then you hinge back until if you go any more, you wouldn't feel comfortable or your toes would raise. We stay stable in the feet, so if I come and look at your feet, I don't know your body is swaying, but your body feels like a very big tower. We call this tower.
And so you want to try not to hinge over, but make your action all from the ankles so that you're like a board and everything is moving from the lower part of your leg. Now, when you're ready, you're going to pretend that you're falling. And so you're just going to catch yourself and go forward. Catch yourself.
So again, ready? You let yourself go, and at the last possible moment, you step, you pause. The pause is important, and then you push yourself back, and you try to fall and catch yourself consciously on your other leg. Sagittal plane falling. You make yourself try that. If that screen is in your eyes, let me dim that or get rid of that.
And his hip see how that's internal rotation? From a posterior view, it looks like external rotation, but it's not. It's internal rotation. And again, you can keep your hand on my shoulder if you need. I want you to focus on your balance. I want you to focus on my words. Right? I'm going to put my hand right here and just push him into a little more extension. So go into a little more extension, and I'm going to keep him there. He's slightly internally rotated, and then slightly internally rotated at his foot. And now I want you to flex your knee as much as you can. Do you feel that working right there? So, and then go ahead and extend all the way. And then come back up and flex again and see if you feel that working right there. Fantastic. I want you to practice this. So you are going to practice this. If you need to partner up with somebody so you can hold each other for balance. All right. This is our new partner dance. All right. Foot back behind you like that. You're going to internally rotate at the hip, internally rotate at the knee joint, and then flex up as high as you can, and back down. Good. Do it. Partner up. I love it. Y'all are doing it. Rotation. So they decelerate what? External rotation. And we see a lot of times people doing squats and they adduct and internally rotate. Adduct and internally rotate. So concentrically, I should focus on strengthening some other muscles. But what that means also is that you're going to have this muscle less likely to decelerate adduction. And that's going to be valuable for us as well. And sometimes you see people doing like sumo squats or plie squats.
One try, one more round. Boy or girl, any. You can do the most together if you want. เอาไปรอบสุดท้ายนะเอาไปรอบสุดท้ายแล้วเชิญ
All right. You can remain standing. I'm going to lie down for just a moment and just show you. There are some definite things that are isolated activations. So you'll have people doing these clamshells, right? These are good. I want you to do these, but not right now. These are things that can be very helpful. It's just not what we're going to practice. We're going to use a more integrated approach for this. But also notice when people do this exercise, this is how most of the times they do it. Ready? What is... All right. You can remain standing. I'm going to lie down for just a moment and just show you. There are some definite things that are isolated activations. So you'll have people doing these clamshells, right? These are good. I want you to do these, but not right now. These are things that can be very helpful. It's just not what we're going to practice. We're going to use a more integrated approach for this. But also notice when people do this exercise, this is how most of the times they do it. Ready? What is this series or this cluster that you're going to do before we move on to other concepts? Keep them short. Keep them short. Don't reach down far. Excuse me. Ten more seconds. No, don't stop. Don't stop. In this series or this cluster that you're going to do before we move on to other concepts. Keep them short. Keep them short. Don't reach down far. Excuse me. 10 more seconds. No, don't stop. Don't stop.